Hey everybody, Alex here again with another video. Today we're going to talk about my competition gun. So this is the gun that I shoot limited optics with in USPSA and that I recently shot in the PCSL 2-gun match I shot last month. This is my STI Tac 4. So for those of you guys that don't know, STI is what Staccato was called before they rebranded into Staccato. All right, future Alex jumping in here for a second to provide a little additional context to this part, so I wanted to re-record it. STI was Staccato before they rebranded to Staccato. So they were mostly a company that was catering to the competition shooting community. I started shooting IDPA, transitioned into USPSA. I have a bunch of buddies that shot 3-gun. And as far as the 2011 market, back then it was dominated by STI. You saw STI guns everywhere, but you didn't really see them much outside of the competition shooting community. Now, there are some people like gun guys that were sort of in the know. Like I knew some police officers that shot competition and carried STIs on duty for departments that allowed that. For those of you guys that remember the Magpul Dynamics Art of the Dynamic handgun videos, Chris Costa and Travis Haley in those videos mainly were shooting the Smith & Wesson M&P Gen 1 9mm. But during certain segments of the video, they talk about separate weapons platforms and why they choose what. And there's a section in there where they have a bunch of their own firearms out on the table and they're talking through different actions and things like that. And on the table, one or both of them have some older STI 2011 iron-sighted guns. So they did make it outside of the competition shooting community, but that was mostly what STI catered to, were competition shooters with custom, not really custom, semi-custom maybe, competition guns. Again, you would see them outside. Like I remember Lucas from T-Rex Arms back in those days. He had a STI DVC gun and did a bunch of videos on it, like an open race gun or steel challenge gun. But that's where you mostly saw the guns. So the STI was struggling as a company, and an investment group started working with them to get them back on track. And as a part of that whole deal, they rebranded and started pushing the 2011 platform to more of the general civilian market as opposed to just the competition market, and to law enforcement. There was a big push for those law enforcement contracts and things like that. So that was a whole part of a strategic move as a company to get the business back on track. And so they rebranded the name as a part of that. So same company, still run by a lot of the same people, just kind of prior to that transition over to Staccato, which I think happened in the late 2010s. So anyway, just a little more context about the STI to Staccato. And as they kind of went along and they started getting more and more into the tactical side, like they worked with Chris Costa for a while on the Host pistol, which is sort of some of their first optics ready models before everybody started calling stuff optics ready. He worked with them on that and was sponsored by them, I believe. But as they sort of got along more, that rebrand was part of their attempt to get more, police contracts, because there's a whole lot more money in that. And that's what they did. And so that sort of turned into what we now have as the Staccato P. So this gun is from well before the rebrand, and I think it was made in 2014, 2015 is when these things came out. But it was a tactical model, not a competition model. Now it came with iron sights because they weren't making optics ready ones back then, and I had this cut. again for a 509T, which is what I run on my full-size pistols currently. So this gun is my main competition gun. It has been for several years since I quit shooting open. So I cut it in such a manner that I don't have backup irons on this thing. It's just cut for this 509T optic. And, you know, so I don't have backup irons, but, you know, I don't carry it. It's not my home defense gun. So I'm not super worried about it. Now, I have not really set this up to be a super high-speed race gun. It's got a stock trigger in it. It's got stock recoil springs. I mean, I've replaced the recoil springs, but I don't spring this gun super light like a lot of guys will for competition 2011s or 1911s. It's sprung for, you know, off the shelf and self-defense ammo. So if I had to press this thing into service as sort of a fighting gun, you know, I could. It's set up that way. It's not set up to be internally to be a, you know, high-speed, low-drag competition gun. But, you know, the trigger's probably 4 pounds. You know, it's not super, super light. But I really, really like this gun. So now most guys shooting competition guns are shooting long slide or full-size slide guns, 5-inch guns. This is called a Tac 4, but I think the barrel is actually 4 1/4. It's got a bull barrel, no bushing. And, you know, I think this gun shoots great. I mean, it recoils fast. You can move it around a little bit easier than you can a full-size gun. Like I had a full-size 5-inch Prodigy as sort of a backup competition gun. And compared to this gun, the Prodigy felt super like chunky, and like the slide felt like real heavy and slow when it shot. It was a little bit softer, but it just felt a lot more chunky and slow. But I really, really like this gun. Just how, you know, compact it is and how quickly it cycles. So this thing is relatively stock. You know, like I mentioned, I did put an extended mag release on this thing because otherwise I would have to break my grip to get to the mag release, but I can get to this, you know, mag release without breaking my grip. A lot of guys don't do this on 2011s because when they put their hand there, they have accidental magazine discharges. That's just not something that I've ever had an issue with. I've never accidentally dropped a mag out of this gun due to an accidental mag release hit. I've had some issues where I've shoved a mag up in there and not shoved it in all the way because it was fully loaded and it fallen out, but I've never had a mag come out because of this. But a lot of guys can't just because their grip or their hands are too big. So I added that extended mag release. This is a more modern Staccato mag well. Anybody familiar with these guns? There used to be like an old style STI mag well that this came with. And I got rid of that one to put this more modern Staccato one on there. And that was not for, it was for aesthetic reasons. I think this one looks a little bit better, but not performance issues. They both had the cutouts like that, so it's much the same. The magwell itself, you know, it's funnel magwell. The old one is just as good as this one, but I just like the way this one looked a little bit better. But other than cutting it for the optic, adding the mag release and the magwell, this gun is bone stock. And, you know, it's a good shooter. You know, if you guys watched my Glock video, I talked about a lot of stuff that I don't like about the Glock. I would much rather use, you know, this gun over a Glock. Now, this gun's very expensive. You know, this one used, you know, you probably would not be able to find this gun anywhere. I've actually looked for a second one before to find as a backup, and the last time I looked, I could not find one for sale anywhere. So this gun, you know, they didn't make a ton of them. There's not a ton out there. So it'd be hard for you to find it, and if you did, I mean, you'd probably be paying $2,000 for it. So it should be a little bit better than a Glock, but you know, I would much rather shoot a 2011 style pistol than a Glock. I bought this from a buddy of mine, and he did undercut this plastic grip a little bit, and that's made that a little bit more comfortable. So that is modified up under there. But other than that, this gun's relatively stock. I use MBX mags in this thing. So these are 140 millimeter MBX mags. They'll hold 23. I think I probably have guts in one of these from Hennings to where you can actually get 24 rounds in the mag, but they wear out relatively quick. So most guys shooting competition, seriously with a 2011 platform are using MBX mags because they're considered to me the most reliable. They're expensive though. I mean, these things are like $130 a mag. And you drop them, you'll beat them up, get them out of tune, and they'll stop working. So that's one thing where, with Glock mags, like I've never had a Glock mag stop working other than maybe the spring wearing out. And you can drop them, beat them up, and you don't have to worry about them getting out of tune. And then if you do screw one up, it's not that much to get a replacement, where this is a lot different. You got to fiddle with these mag lips and things like that. Just generally owning a 2011 can be a lot more of a pain as far as maintenance and stuff like that goes than a Glock. But I'd much rather shoot this than I would a Glock. So I do use the MBX mags. They're very expensive, but they're good, and you can get even longer ones. So you can get 170 millimeter mags that hold 28, 29. Like that would be if you're shooting this gun in PCSL or something like that. In USPSA, if you guys don't know, they cap your mags by length. So you get a 140 millimeter or a 170 millimeter with open or limited optics. And then, however many you can cram in the gun is legal. They just, just measure the length of the magazine. Over here on my rig, this is my main shooting rig. Now I've had this belt for forever. I've recolored it with a Sharpie because it got so faded it was pink, but this is a really stiff double alpha belt. I've got double alpha mag pouches on here. They're aluminum and they've got adjustable tension on them. And then I've got the double alpha magnet. That's for if you're doing like an unloaded start, or sometimes in USPSA stages, they'll have you stage magazines all over the stage. And so if you wanted to sort of quickly pick one up off a barrel or whatever and throw it on the magnet, you can. And then that's my first reload generally, in a stage. It comes right out. So that's pretty cool. Belt super stiff. You wear an inner Velcro belt and then Velcro that over the top of it. I've got a belt keeper here, an Arredondo belt keeper. And then here is a Comp Tac sort of drop holster for a 2011. This is actually for an old STI Edge that works great for this gun because it's hard to find specific holsters for this type of gun. But this is my competition setup, so this is what I'm shooting most of the time at USPSA matches. And then other than a slightly different belt setup, this is what I shot in my recent PCSL match. Now, one thing I did want to mention on this gun, I find this gun to be one of the most aesthetically pleasing guns that I've ever seen. I absolutely love the full-length dust cover rail on 1911s and 2011s, but something about having the full-length dust cover rail on this 4 1/4 inch gun, I mean, I just think that top end is so sexy on this thing. One thing I do want to do at some point is, you don't need it, but all these 2011s come with these plastic grips, and I do want to get probably not a steel grip, but an aluminum grip and put on this thing a Chile or something like that if I can find one, because that's one thing that I just think that would completely set this thing off. Like, these grips work fine and they keep the gun relatively lightweight, but I just think, aesthetically they don't look great. So, that would be one thing that I may change in the future, is throw a black aluminum grip on this thing. And I think that would just make it look so good. But anyway, so that's my old STI Tac 4. So we'll take that out and we'll shoot a match here with it. We'll take it out, run it on the police qualifier, see how we do compared to some of those other guns like the Glock. in some of those pocket guns and carry guns. And then I'll see you guys back here for the debrief afterwards. Hey guys, we're out here on the range today getting ready to run a couple of pistols through this course of fire and do some kind of like grouping with them, supported from a sandbag. As far as the course of fire goes, what we're doing is going to be shooting the Alabama Peace Officers and Training Commission's qualification course. So what this is a 50-round course of fire that all Alabama law enforcement has to initially qualify on and requalify on annually. So we're going to start out here at the 25-yard line. You're going to draw and shoot 6 rounds, then kneel and shoot 6 rounds with a 35-second par time. You're allowed to have a barricade for that. I don't have a barricade handy out here today, and I wouldn't use it anyway, so I don't have that here. Following that, the next course of fire, you're going to run up, draw and shoot, run up from the 25-yard line to the 15-yard line, draw and shoot 3 rounds. You have 8 seconds to do that. Then you are going to stay at the 15-yard line. You're going to draw and shoot 3 rounds with a 5-second par time. You have to do that 3 separate times. The next course of fire, you would run from the 15-yard line to the 7-yard line and put 2 rounds from the 7. You're going to have 8 seconds to do that. At the 7, you're then going to draw and fire 12 rounds. You've got 25 seconds to do that. And then the last string is going to be from the 5-yard line. You're going to draw and put 6 rounds strong hand only, then move the gun to your weak hand and shoot 6 rounds weak hand only. So each shot is worth 2 points. We're shooting at an FBI Q target there. So if the shot is inside the Q target or breaks the perf, you get the hit. And if it's outside, you get a miss. So each round's worth 2 for a total of 100 points. A passing score is 70. My brother is a police officer here in Alabama, and I've shot this with him before when he was practicing kind of in the academy, and I've shot this clean. It'll probably be pretty easy to do with some of these guns as far as my competition rigs go, but I'm going to shoot some of these little carry guns on it too, and those should be significantly more challenging. But we're going to try to not only shoot this thing, maybe not clean, but pretty clean, but we want to shoot it really fast. So the par times here are real slow. So I'm going to kind of keep up with my score and kind of times, and then I can kind of look at it compared to other guns and look at both the score and the overall time on this thing. So it should be pretty interesting to compare and keep up with, and I think this is a good repeatable standard to kind of check out with some of these guns. So all of them are in there. That's a perfect score with a pretty decent time. This is my competition gun, so I should be able to do this. I did mess up the run up from 25 to 15. I was supposed to fire 3 shots. I only fired 2. So I stopped and redid that string. Maybe I should have taken a miss on that, but so there should be 52 shots in there. That one I saw it when it happened, but barely got it on the edge. I think that was another run-up shot, but perfect score. Okay, so back out at the range a different day because the last time I came out to shoot some of these guns, my shot timer ran out of batteries, and I really wanted to get par times on some of this stuff because I think that's a better comparison when you start looking at some of these tiny guns, getting them out of pockets and things like that, as opposed to appendix rigs or you know, maybe competition rigs in some cases. So I didn't have times last time. I shot the drills anyway with just no time because I feel like I can beat the times on them, but I did want the times for data. So I'm gonna have to cheat a little bit on this next one too. I forgot my competition rig for the STI, so my times are gonna be a little bit different than they would sort of out of a speed rig. I'm gonna just draw it from appendix and shoot that way because I want some of those draw times in there, but this one will be a little bit slower than it probably normally would. Well, my gun jammed with what was probably bad ammo I loaded, so I'm going to cheat and redo it. It's not because I missed. .868. Wow. 433, that first shot was terrible. .259. 238. 222. All right, so that one was a bit rough. I had a perfect score last time with this one, but that one was bad. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. That was that terrible one. All right, so that's a 49 out of 50.
Are you ready? Stand by.
He didn't make it today because
If finished, unload and show clear. If clear, slide forward, hammer down, holster. Range is clear, 1222.
Oh, no.
going behind the scorekeeper.
Oh,
Oh no!
that sucks. Well, that was terrible. That's off paper too.
Are you ready? Stand by. If you're finished, unload.
Fuck, I didn't need it.
If clear, hammer down and holster. Yeah. 1565. Damn, did you want Brian to record you?
Yeah, that's all right.
Dude, I'm sorry.
No.
Shooter ready. Stand by. If you're finished, unload, show clear.
Fuck, fucked it up.
If clear, hammer down and holster. Range is clear. 1434. Did you get a mic or get no shoot?
No, I got both of them.
Alright. So that thing was coming up when you shot your last one.
Oh, gosh, man. No, look there too, I rushed.
Shooter ready. Stand by. Oh, we lost the third.
All right, guys, closing thoughts on the TAC 4. So there's not a whole lot to say at this point. You know, this is my primary competition gun. I shoot this more than any other gun I have, and I really love this thing. It performed pretty well on both the qualification runs. The second run, as mentioned, I did have to draw it from appendix as opposed to out of my competition rig. So it was going to be a little bit slower because I was shooting it from concealment because I had left my competition rig at home, but I scored, I think, a 100 or maybe a 98 on the first run. The second run, I scored a 98 again. I have put up the fastest time so far in the qualification with this gun, my total time being 35:23, which really was not much faster than my 365. The 365 was around 39 seconds, if I'm recalling that correctly. So not much faster. Now I was shooting this from concealment, so that would have slowed me down a little bit. But you know, did a good job with the accuracy on it. Now I dropped one shot up on high on the shoulder. I think I thought it was in that run-up sequence, but looking back at the video, it was at the 25 yards. It's like my first or second shot, I think, in the opening string at 25 yards. So I just put it a little high and to my right. But again, the gun ran good. The gun ran consistent, and I'm very comfortable shooting this gun. As far as the match goes, I didn't do great in the match. Now that match was a one-off like outlaw match. It was ran by a small range that's local to me called Double Tap. They don't do matches there typically, so it was sort of like a one-off event. The match was not any kind of match like I've shot before. It wasn't USPSA or IDPA. It was a true sort of outlaw match. It had a mix of, you know, steel and I think they were using PCSL targets. And just, you know, you would see target presentations and things that you wouldn't normally see at like a standard USPSA or IDPA or three-gun match. So it was fun. Now, they did paper scoring, so I don't really know exactly how I did because the scores were a little messed up, I think, at the end of the match. Nobody really cared because it was relatively small. There was 20-something people there probably, and it was just sort of a for fun thing. I shot it with a couple of my buddies. I think all three of them beat me. I came in probably 4th place on that match for the day, but a lot of the other people that attended that had probably never shot any kind of structure competition before. But I'm not sure exactly how I did as far as times and score or anything because while the people that ran the match had an idea how they wanted to score, we got the scores back. They didn't make a whole lot of sense. It was on paper. I didn't keep it. So I'm not sure how I did overall time-wise or, you know, hit factor-wise, however they scored it. Because it didn't seem like they knew themselves. But it was fine. I knew my buddies beat me, and it was fun. It was different, and so I had a good time. Didn't do particularly well that day. But that's about it. I don't know that there's much more to say on this particular gun. You know, again, for me, this is a competition-focused gun, and it doesn't really do anything else but, you know, sit in my safe when I'm not competing or practicing with it. But it's a great gun. I love it. I love the 2011 platform, you know, with the exception of, you know, expensive mags and things like that. I think when I recorded this video, I mentioned the MBX. A lot of guys are running these MBX mags, and, you know, they're $130 a piece plus. I know that some of the other SVI mags are popular. Atlas mags are starting to be maybe what people are going towards these days because they're better tuned than maybe these MBX mags. I'm starting to hear that kind of in the competition circuit. But that's my biggest thing with the 2011 platform is paying so much for these mags and then you know, having to tune them. I hate having to fiddle around with mag lips and things like that. Like I have a kit to do that. But I hate messing with, you know, particularly something this expensive to make it run right. I do a lot of indoor shooting, as you've seen on some of these videos, where I'm shooting kind of an indoor match and dropping mags on a concrete floor, and that screws up mags a little bit quicker than, you know, dropping them outside usually. So that's my biggest gripe with the platform. And I am particularly interested in trying one of these platforms with the 2011 that uses the Glock mags, whether that's the new Staccato gun or the Platypus or the Fusion gun that they have out, Fusion Firearms, Glock Mag 2011. So I may pick up one of those someday soon and try those because I do like the idea of having a 2011 gun that, you know, uses a Glock mag, a much cheaper mag. So other than that, I appreciate everybody watching. If you've hung in there for this one, I'll throw up a link to my prior video. It should be the Glock one unless I change up the order, so I'll throw that link up there. If you guys are interested in the content, please give me some feedback, like and subscribe and do all that stuff. I appreciate you coming in, and I'll see you next time.